Hey guys, Wade Bush Iverson here. Alright, first division for the preseason rankings. Going to start off with probably the most boring division there is. That is over in the East, of course. The Atlantic Division. You have the likes of the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Toronto Raptors. There's a couple of basement dwellers there that are going to remain basement dwellers. We're going to do this alphabetically, so we are going to start with the Boston Celtics. So they added Marcus Smart, the guard, to the likes. They really didn't have any losses. They lost Chris Humphries, and they also added Evan Turner and Marcus Thornton. I like Marcus Thornton as a shooter coming off the bench. One other thing I like is if Evan Turner is getting playing time, big if, I think you could really see some sort of development there. He looked pretty good in his first year out of Philadelphia, and even parts into that second, he showed some glimmers. So I think this could be a little bit of an interesting situation for Boston if they give Evan Turner some time on the court. Now we're looking at kind of a jumble here when you have Rajon Rondo, Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, Evan Turner, uh, and Marcus Thornton, all vying for playing time there. So I would highly suggest that they give Evan Turner a shot. He's a number 2 overall pick. Um, you never know what's going to develop, and so I think that's more important. You pretty much already know what you have with Rajon Rondo. I don't know why you want to keep going to that well. I think he's a good trade target. All right, starting lineup: Rajon Rondo, Avery Bradley, Jeff Green, Brandon Bass, and Jared Sullinger. All right, Brooklyn is next. Their additions are Jarrett Jack. They lost Paul Pierce, Sean Livingston, and Marcus Thornton. Now, a lot of people are saying they got a lot worse because they lost Paul Pierce. Yes, I'll grant you that. But um, some things we have to remember is Brook Lopez. He's healthy again. So if you do get a full season out of Brook Lopez, that's a lot better than a full season out of Paul Pierce. We're talking about one of the best big men in the low post if he's healthy. So if Brook Lopez can stay healthy, Brooklyn can surprise some people. They're not going to go challenge for the number 1 seed, but I think they can make the playoffs. I think they can make the playoffs because of Brook Lopez. They also still have Joe Johnson and Darren Williams. If those 3 stay healthy, big if, they can be a pretty solid club. That's a good pick and roll coming off with Darren Williams, off of Brook Lopez, and then you have Joe Johnson out on the perimeter, still a very good shooter. He can put up 20 points a night. Darren's capable of that if he's healthy, and Brook Lopez will put that up for you if he's healthy. Kevin Garnett's going to be playing the 4 just because he's Kevin Garnett. You know, he'll be out after the first 5 minutes of the game, and then you'll probably see the like of Plumlee or Teletovic, somebody like that coming into their place. And I love Jarrett Jack. Great signing. We are talking about a guy who can start, play the point, play the 2 guard. I am a big fan of Jarrett Jack as a 6-man, and in times I would even start him. In a lot of cases, I would even go with a 3-guard lineup and start with Jarrett Jack, Deron Williams, and Joe Johnson as the 1, 2, 3 there. Um, I think he's a phenomenal player. Really should consider that. I like him over Sean Livingston, which was the big loss from the bench. So I think they're actually a playoff team for the East. Interesting, but it's true. New York. All right, they added Jose Calderon and Samuel Dalembert, and they lost Tyson Chandler and Raymond Felton. It's another Nick off season where somebody gets paid the buku bucks and they're still no better than they were before. Look, you can praise the trade all you want, but what it comes down to is, are you happier with Samuel Dalembert as your starting center over Tyson Chandler? I think I'll take Chandler. I really do. We can blame him for the grumpiness, for the messed up chemistry, but that's New York frickin' City for you. All right? The fans bite every player's head off every 2 seconds. And the players are in a pressurized environment, and they've sucked for decades. All right? It's as simple as that. I like Jose Calderon, but you really think that one of your biggest problems you had was you couldn't play defense, and now you brought in Jose Calderon to be your starting point guard to go along with the likes of Tim Hardaway Jr., J.R. Smith, Carmelo Anthony, the sultan of playing defense, Andrea Bargnani. Oh boy, I feel a lot of 100-point Knicks, 100 points for the opposing team raining down on the New York Knicks. Who the heck is going to protect the rim? You think Samuel Dallenbert's going to be in there for 45 minutes a night? Hell no. All right? New York is screwed this season again. And they're still locked up because they signed Bargnani to a lovely long contract. They have Carmelo Anthony to a ridiculous contract as well. They're locked in with, let's see, who else? J.R. Smith, they're locked in for a little while with. And they're also locked into Jose Calderon for another 3 years as well. Good defense. Still, they're not even, they're a mediocre team in this East Division. They could crack the 8th seed. It wouldn't shock me if they did. Philadelphia is next. Key additions, well, kind of a key addition. They drafted Joel Embiid, but he's not playing this year. So maybe I can count the addition as being Nerlens Noel. And they lost nobody because they had nobody. Well, I guess they lost Thaddeus Young, but you get my gist here. Philadelphia is going to be even worse than they were last year. They lost Thaddeus Young. He's a pretty good player. And here's an interesting thing I found. Joel Embiid, the guy who they just took in this past draft, right, who's not going to play the entire year, is the second highest paid player on the Philadelphia 76ers at $4 million. I'm pretty sure every New York Knick is making at least $20 million now. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about Amari Stoudemire. $24 million for him. Enjoy, New York. Yeah, the number one guy is Jason Richardson, and he picked up his player option for $6.5 million. That tells you how bad that a veteran is going to take an option for a team that's this crappy. That tells you how small paid this team is. Oh, it's going to be a long year. Now, I had a starting lineup for them, but I stopped after MCW because you really can't comprehend what the rest of it's going to be. I'm assuming Nerlens Noel is going to be in there. But here's what I don't like about the way they built this team. You took Nerlens Noel and you took Joel Embiid. You got rid of a guy that you can build around, Jrue Holiday, in order to get Nerlens Noel. But then you go out and draft another injury-riddled center. What are the chances that either or both of those centers come back from these injuries and develop into superstars? There was already questions about particularly Nerlens Noel's skills coming in to this draft. He's too thin, by the way, to play center right now. He needs to bulk up. And Joel Embiid, who has had a riddled injury career thus far. I don't see it happening. Who knows? Toronto. They added Lou Williams, and they pretty much lost nobody. I like Lou Williams. I think he's a good guy to come off the bench. I think, given if he's healthy, he's a scorer who can fill it up. And I think he's a good guy to bring off the bench behind some of your big horses. I think two things that made Toronto seem better than they were last year. One is that they had all 5 starters play 77 games or more. So that tells you that they were perfect in terms of health. So the chances of them repeating all 5 of their starters playing 77 games, I think is very, very slim. It doesn't happen in the NBA today. They also had 3 of their core guys off the bench play over 75 games apiece. I don't see that repeating again. Now, if it does, by all means, they'll probably be the 3rd or 4th seed in the East. So I think they'll fall, but they'll still make the playoffs. They're still a pretty good team. Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Terrence Ross, Amir Johnson, and Jonas Valanciunas. They really should improve that low post. Their front court just isn't good enough. and I think they need to bolster that in some way or somehow. Still, I have Toronto ranked number 1. Toronto Raptors, number 1 in the Atlantic Division. For all I mentioned about them, the Brooklyn Nets, number 2. New York Knicks, it pains me to say, but they're number 3. Is simply because the other two are so terrible. Number 4, the Boston Celtics, just because Rondo, Bradley, and Green, at least as a core. Philadelphia has MCW, and there's still some big questions surrounding him and in his injury issues. So yeah, that'll be it. Toronto 1. I think they do make the playoffs. Brooklyn number 2. I think they've got a shot to make the playoffs. I think they probably do. New York, outside chance. I think they could get that 8 seed, maybe the 7th, because the East is so poor. And then we have, let's see, Celtics next. No chance of the playoffs. Good chance at the number 1 pick. Philadelphia, no chance at the playoffs. Very good chance at the number 1 pick. That's it for the Atlantic Division. More exciting divisions coming up next.